dive in a little bit into the whole theme of balance for the month of April. And I thought, what better way to do that than maybe a balanced plate idea? But as we all know, there's so many different realms of wellness. So do keep that in mind. This is just one of them. So Jen, you can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. I just want to start off by wanting to figure out what does eating well mean to everybody in this room. Not to, I get so many different answers. I don't think there is one right answer, and that's why there's different diets, right? So if anybody has just a small, maybe 1 or 2 word phrase blip about what eating well might mean to you, what it's done for you, maybe what it's done for maybe a loved one, yourself, your health, I'd really like to know. Well, for me anyway, eating well fuels me. It certainly improves my health across the board, my energy, a lot of how I am throughout the day and how animated I can be. I see two answers here, which is one, somebody said eat whole foods. I love that answer. That's, I think, one of the best things we can do when we approach nutrition and food in general, because it's so easy to get caught up in convenience, right? And when we run into convenience, we run into a lot of processed things. So that's a great answer. Jen said balance my plate. See, organic foods, another great one. Today, we're really going to be revolving around balancing our plates and eating well-rounded meals. But eating well can mean a lot of things. For the sake of the argument, it's just going to be balancing our plates really well, and what that can do for us. You know what that looks like. You know how to take a lot of the difficult things out of the equation and make it a lot simpler for ourselves. So, John, we can go to the next slide. Thank you. So this is just a sample version of it with no in particular foods, right? It's very, very, general. It's very open-ended. What a balanced plate could be comprised of. And the reason I chose this one is because it places a very large emphasis on vegetables. And, for anybody following a balanced diet, whether you want to be healthier or honestly just maintain your current lifestyle, maybe you just like to be healthy, and you get satisfaction out of eating healthy foods. I do. I certainly do. Makes me feel good. It powers me throughout my day, and I know I'm making a good choice for my health down the road, getting those habits in place. And one of those habits for sure is eating a ton of vegetables. That's one of the main, I think, things that changes in everybody's life when they come into a new nutrition or lifestyle practices. You have these things to choose from that you can adopt. This is one of the simplest ones that I did to just make it really easy across the board and make it a lot more effortless. And I'll be getting to more stuff to make it even more effortless, later on in this presentation. But having your plate be 50% vegetables is such a great idea. Not only cut down calories, but make sure you're getting micronutrients in there too. And obviously we have the grains, we have our healthy proteins. We hear a lot about protein these days. I'm sure some people are surprised to see 20% of that being the plate. Fruits, we don't always have fruits with every single meal. So, whether or not you want to have that 10% of fruit, maybe you want to add that 10% to your vegetables, your whole grains, maybe you want to put a fat in there, who knows, maybe a little bit of olive oil, right, that you're cooking with. But I'm sure that everybody here is very surprised to see healthy protein being 20% of the equation. It's true. We don't want too much protein, and there's such a large emphasis on it now for protein, no carbs. And there are so many different things that we're hearing every day. It's diet confusion is what it is. This really is as close to what you're supposed to be doing as possible. It's really simple, easy to read infographic. There's a few different things about servings on there and the different foods within that group that everybody can take away, whether you're a meat eater, a vegetarian, maybe. There's plenty of options on here, just something to a little bit of food for thought. Jen, go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Another thing that I've touched on in previous presentations is eating to match a rainbow, right? And it sounds funny when I say it out loud, but it's really true. The more diverse your colors are when it comes to your food, and you see this mostly with vegetables and fruit, the better they are for you. And there's indicators of what some of those, for me, I immediately go to the word phyto because it's a phytonutrient or a phytoestrogen that's in a plant, or these are just colors like, green is chlorophyll. And then we have our cyanothianins. I had to make sure I'm pronouncing that right. In the purple and the reds, and so on and so forth. They all do a little bit of something for our health and for our body. And it's cool because you can go and eat something. You're like, all right, I'm working towards making this better for myself. Cancer prevention is a huge one. You're also going to see those pretty much across the board. A lot of these have a lot of antioxidants in them, no matter what the color, so you can feel good about that. These are just a little bit more specific, but cancer prevention across the board, I wanted to note that that's pretty much seen in all of these foods when you include them as more of a major staple for your diet, I would say. You're going to see great health benefits across the board, especially if you're using them in conjunction with other healthy lifestyle habits. And Jen, let's go to the next slide. Thank you. So just diving into like the different things within these food groups to help balance our plate is, and I'm sure everybody hears this all the time, it's dark leafy green vegetables. They're extremely nutrient dense. They're typically low in calories, depending on how you cook them. If you douse something in oil, believe me, I'm not casting blame here. I'm not the judge. I love broccoli rabe sauteed with garlic and a ton of olive oil, but you're not doing yourselves too many favors down the road. So dark leafy green vegetables, especially when they're prepared well, can be obviously sodium free. If you go with the low sodium frozen versions, maybe the low sodium or no sodium canned versions, I always shy away because of all that salt. So the fresh varieties are absolutely best. And whether or not you cook them or they're raw, I eat a ton of raw vegetables. It's tougher for your body to break down. If you have stomach issues, I don't suggest it. I do have stomach issues, so I won't eat kale raw, but I'll definitely eat spinach raw. That's super easy for me to digest. But all of those dark leafy green vegetables are loaded with nutrients. I mean, loaded with nutrients. If you're not one to take vitamins, definitely something that you want to include more of in your diet. I take a multivitamin just to cover all my gaps, but you might not be like that. A lot of people complain that maybe a multivitamin is rough on your stomach. Again, these are nice little tidbits that we know we can rely on when we're eating, we're including things in our diet to make us feel good about what we're taking in. And some of the bigger things, there's a lot of water-soluble vitamins in these, but also a ton of fat-soluble vitamins in dark leafy green vegetables, like, spinach. There's some stuff in zucchini, kale. There really is so many. I'm not going to sit here and waste too much time. But they're all loaded with so many different nutrients, whether it's a vitamin, a micro, a mineral, whatever it might be. So Jen, we'll go on to the next food group, if you don't mind. So obviously next we're going to talk about grains. We all love carbs. So this was really the centerpiece for this slide, was the thought of carbohydrates, period. And there are carbohydrates in vegetables, but they're so nutrient dense. Those carbohydrates really don't impact you as harshly as a grain might, or anything with sugar in it. And since we're talking about whole foods here, which somebody at the beginning said that's what eating well means to them, is eating whole foods. And that's what we're focusing on. That's the important thing. We're going to shy away from those processed foods. Even those have some sugar, right? Or whether or not it has sugar, there's carbohydrates in it. It can, lead to weight gain. So we want to, or lead to health issues on the road. We always want to go towards the things that are the healthiest within, whole grains and fruits. So why not start with, again, those bright colors, berries, citrus. Those are really main staples in so many different people's diets. Ton of oranges. A lot of people eat oranges. A lot of people eat bananas. There's a certain fruit in there that maybe isn't that common that you think you eat. Like for instance, I have said I ate a pear the other day, and somebody was surprised, like, "Oh, you eat pears?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's like an apple, but it's just shaped oddly. It's just an awkward apple." But I eat a lot of different fruits, and people were just surprised to hear that. Pineapple is another one for some reason. People were surprised when you said that you eat pineapple, another great fruit for you. But fruits are great because they are sugars, right? So too much of them isn't good, but you're probably not going to overeat fruit, right? They're a little bit harder to digest. They are lower on the glycemic index than normal sugar would be, or what you find around these products, which is these hydrogenated corn syrups, inverted corn syrups. If you don't know what those are, you probably shouldn't be putting them in your body, right? So again, fruits, better source of sugar than candies or over-the-counter processed things. Lower on the glycemic index. Go for the colorful ones. They pack a ton of not only water and vitamins and minerals, lower in calories, and there's a ton of fiber in them. Speaking of fiber, and we're going to go over to the whole grains now, you can use them with pretty much everything. And they're a huge staple in all of our diets, probably more so than fruit. I would say. I don't eat fruit all day long. I probably eat more brown rice and quinoa than anything. And speaking of quinoa, that's actually a complete protein, but it has, a nice source of carbohydrates in there too. So you can kind of get a 2-for-1 with that, especially if you're not a meat eater. Maybe you're on the vegetarian side of things. But again, all those whole grains are super versatile. You can really cook them with absolutely anything. There's fiber in there. You have your carbohydrates as your main energy source. And there's also a ton of, even in fortified foods, why they're called fortified and enriched foods, they have the basic vitamins and minerals that you would need to kind of pretty much survive, I would say, off the top of my head. And that was done years and years and years ago, probably back before the 1960s or 1950s. But again, the whole grains that we have in our homes now, they are very nutritious, especially if you get the ones that aren't prepared a certain way. They're not seasoned, they're plain, then you season them later on when you're done cooking or while you're cooking. Just a big piece of our diets, and we always want to go for the keyword here is whole. Whole grains are the way to go. They're not broken down as much as other sources of carbs. So like, stripped down carbohydrate sources, the white breads and the white pastas, the sugars and things of that nature. John, let's go to the next slide. Thank you. And I'm sure everybody has been waiting for this. It's the proteins and the fats. Fats are another big hot button topic. Right now, and there's a reason for it. They're extremely good for you. You need them to absorb certain vitamins. That's the biggest key thing I want everybody to take away about fats. You need some fats, one for hormone regulation, especially male or female. You need them for hormone regulation. You also need them to absorb vitamins. And a lot of people definitely don't know about this. There's interactions between vitamins too, but to even absorb them in the first place, you need fat. And some examples of this are A, D, E, and K. We've all heard of these vitamins. They have a slew of health benefits. Vitamin D, especially right now, is really being touted along with vitamin C, but vitamin C is a water-soluble vitamin. We need fat to absorb these. So especially if you're on a D or D1 or D3 supplement right now, take a little bit of fat with that. You'd be surprised. Maybe you might feel a change, you might not, but you can certainly be assured that you're doing something better for your body to absorb those. So not too much healthy, not too much fat. Go by your daily allotment. Don't eat too much. It's different for everybody. You really have to go by how many calories you need, and also your preferences. Really, maybe you don't break down fat that much, but speak with your doctor. Figure out how much you should be eating, and definitely get those healthy fats in. Now, onto the protein side of things, they are more than just protein, and I wanted this to get across today. So we have a piece of chicken, for instance. It's so much more than just protein. You're getting plenty of vitamins and minerals from there. A lot of B vitamins, for instance. And there's a reason you see that in chicken noodle soup, and why chicken noodle soup helps us feel better. It's giving us pretty much everything we need. We have some noodles in there for carbohydrates, the source. And then you have all these vitamins and minerals within that chicken that's been cooked into the broth, and you're slurping the broth down. It's soothing to your throat. Maybe you have a respiratory infection, knock on wood. But you're also getting a lot of those vitamins and minerals. There's going to be some fat in there. It's just really well-rounded. But a big piece of getting better is having those vitamins and minerals to kind of strengthen your immune system and, better prepare your body to defend itself against that foreign invader, right? Nobody wants to be sick, period. But it's a cool thing to know that even when you're eating chicken, beef, fish, we've heard a lot of tons of vitamins and minerals. And even on the vegetarian side of things, which is the beans, the lentils, the quinoa, as I said before, all great sources of protein, full of fiber and nutrients. Those are also loaded with plenty of vitamins. I'm a huge, huge lentil and quinoa person. If you gave me three, and I do this conversation with my girlfriend all the time, 3 foods I would live on for the rest of my life and survive: lentils, quinoa, and then throw in some sort of vegetable, I'm good to go. You can make them any way you want, a billion different ways. I've seen people use lentils to bake cookies. I don't know about that, but I'm sure if I'm surviving on those 3 things, I'm going to want a cookie at some point. So I'd probably try it out. Those are, again, just awesome protein sources to rely on. That it doesn't have to be meat, but again, super duper versatile. All of these are across the board. You just have to be a little bit creative. And if you need a little bit of help, the entire Be Well team is here to help you. We have, and there's all of these green links on there are actually all links from Livongo and Livongo. You already have access to them, through Virgin Pulse. You can join whatever you need to join. If you're joining Livongo, for instance, that's all there. But if you wanted more of a human touch, reach out to us. We're all experts in the field, me and Sam, specifically for nutrition, and we're happy to help you. John, let's go to the next slide. Thank you. And this is actually something I got from the lovely Jennifer Totten. This was just about, we're talking about what we should eat, but before we eat and we sit down to eat, it's a different conversation. And it begins at your intention, right? So if you're about to sit down and you're going to be extremely distracted, it leads to overeating. It's shown. So you want to be aware of those physical and emotional cues, and there's hunger cues and there's emotional cues. And I'll give a brief example of that. Bored eating, for instance, if you're bored and you're looking for something that's going to satisfy you, maybe make you feel a little bit good, maybe you want some sugar, it's an emotional cue. Stress eating. Hunger cues, you are actually hungry. You need that. A good example of that. Has anybody here ever craved a steak? I'm sure most people in here have. If you haven't, I would be, paint me surprised. Tell me. I'd really like to see that. There's a reason for that. Different reasons, but some of the reasons are your body's craving iron, right? That's a hunger cue you want to go follow. And that's just because the nutrient density and the makeup of steak, tons of iron in there, tons of vitamins. But also you might just be hungry, period. Maybe you're not, actually don't need something. More times than not, you do. Or maybe it's just part of your normal metabolism. You want to actually follow what is actually hunger. So you have to ask yourself, are you bored? Is this stress eating? Again, those emotional cues. Is there something around me that's making me want to eat? If you're on a carnival, I really like funnel cake. Very, very guilty of that on a number of occasions. But, is it something you actually want or need, or is it something that you want, right? So paying attention to those, having the self-control to stop yourself from eating something maybe that's not too great for you. And then maybe if it is an emotional cue, finding healthier, more constructive, and more productive ways to fulfill those needs. And honestly, if you were to sit there for more than a minute, you'd probably come up with something or maybe address something that needs to be addressed. Jen, next slide, please, because we're going to go on to the inverse of this, which is going to be mindless eating. The next slide, Jen. Thank you. So mindless eating, right? The opposite of mindful eating. And that's wanting to eat foods, really like the base of it. It's just wanting to eat foods you don't really need to. Maybe you're just trying to take up time, having a bad day. It's there. I mean, I don't really need that much of a reason. I'm sure there's a lot of people in here too that would agree with me. You don't need a reason to reach your hand in a bowl of M&Ms. It's Monday, there's clouds outside, whatever the reason might be. You don't need a huge reason to. So that's kind of mindless eating. It's not really doing anything for you. You're doing it when you're not paying attention. You're doing it based off of just the smallest whim. Your head dragged you to that direction in the day, and now you just ate half of an apple pie. Again, I'm not judging. It happens, but we want to pay attention to these things when they do happen, right? So next slide, Jen. That was just a little bit on mindless eating. Thank you. And then getting to right, we're not even at the meal yet, right? We're not even at the meal. Is the food prep. And this is just something I suggest for everybody is doing meal prep. You make enough for 3-4 days. You put some time aside to cook it. You make sure that you're buying the food that's good for you. Keep it simple though. Carbs, protein, and a veggie source, I would say maybe fruits. Depends what your personal tastes are. And if you need help with that, helping to build that out, again, you saw those links there, work with professional. Reach out to anybody on the BVO team. We're happy to help you, point you in the right direction, supply you links, whatever you might need. Maybe you just don't want to fiddle with your phone. I totally understand that. If you're on your phone all day, whatever it might be, reach out to us. Happy to help with this. But meal prep is one of those things that's so vital to success when you're eating healthy. And if you just happen to have a little bit of trouble with it, or you don't have the time to figure it out, reach out to any of us. Jen, next slide, please. Thank you. This is just a brief thing on portion sizes. I think everybody who comes to these every week has seen this. I have this infographic. If anybody wants any of these slides sent to them, just so they have that information at their fingertips, just say it in the chat. I'm happy to reach out as soon as I'm done speaking. This is a really great asset to have. Super easy when you're about to prepare your meal, or maybe you're sitting down to eat. Lets you know how much you should eat. Literally using your hands. It's the only tool you need. Jen, next slide, please. Thank you. And then, so we're at the plate, right? It's on the table, I guess. You can use that guide beforehand to really design your plate for not only how much to eat, but what you're supposed to be eating. There's some great examples there from, proteins all the way to fats. Jen, let's go to the next slide. I don't want to eat up too much time. Thank you. This is a really good idea of what a comprised whole diet would look like. Now, I use Mediterranean because it's the healthier version of a Western diet. They include meat and plenty of it, but they're shown to be much healthier because they include different sources of things, especially when it comes to fats and the carbohydrates, in my opinion. They eat a lot more fiber than us. They eat a lot more healthy fat than we do, and that's involved even in the preparation of cooking. Even before you have the food on your plate, it's how it's prepared. There's some frying, obviously, but not a tremendous, gross amount like we have in the Western world. And on the flip side of things, when you get to the vegetarian side of the diet and what that should look like, what it would be comprised of and made up of. Jen, you can go to the next slide just so I can show it. Thank you. Oh, yeah, no, the plant-based one. And it doesn't really, I'm not going to spend that much time on it, but on the previous slide, it was the plant-based edition of that. So thank you, Jen. The protein sources, the carbs and the fat, really great infographic to use if you don't really know what to eat. If you again, want to sit down with any of us here, we'll talk your ear off about it. If you have 1,000 questions, we'll ask for 1,000 more. It's really fine. But if you don't want to do that, I'll send these slides right over to you. This is, again, these are great infographics. I use them all the time when I'm guiding my own cooking. It helps a lot. Jen, next slide. Thank you. And then when you're actually sitting down to eat, and this is what I was really building to, this top line I'm obsessed with since the beginning of March. It was National Nutrition Month. And I was trying to think of something that really stands out above all else, not how to eat, how much to eat, anything like that, but, or no, not what to eat and, how to cook or how much of it to eat, but how you're physically eating. The act of eating, we don't think about that enough. It's universal. We all do it. We all need it. But if you do it the wrong way, it can lead to overeating, not eating the foods that you should be. And it's not only a responsibility to yourself, but those around you. Anybody in here who has kids, maybe you're the leader in your friend group, maybe people look up to you in some way, shape, or form, you're setting a standard. And I'm talking about this right now because I had a presentation this morning and it really stood out to me. If you can challenge yourself to take that 15 to 20 minutes to sit and eat and consciously take in what you're eating, how much you're eating, I'll make a gentleman's bet here, but I'm going to go on a limb and say you'll probably eat less. You might focus on what you're putting in your body more. It might even bother you. Maybe your meal is not that healthy, or maybe you were looking forward to this meal and like you go to eat it and you're like, afterwards you feel sluggish and you're like, oh, what was that? Maybe I ate too fast. Maybe, really sit there and consider it. And I say 15 to 20 minutes because it takes 10 to 15 minutes for your brain to register that your stomach is full. Again, 10 to 15 minutes to register for your stomach or your brain to register that your stomach is full. So if you eat within 5 minutes, you're not giving your body and brain time to actually know that it's eaten enough. Leads to a lot of overeating. That you really will surprise yourself. I surprise myself all the time when I eat a meal quick. I'm like, wow, I barely sat for that. Did I take a breath while I was chewing? I'm not really sure. But that top line is the biggest takeaway from this slide. Obviously, we want to go for the fresh and unprocessed foods. The eating 3 to 5 meals a day, smaller meals a day versus those 2 to 3 larger meals. See what it does for your energy levels. See what it does for your metabolism. You might even drop a little bit of weight, especially if it's healthy food. Doesn't have to be, and this is something that we all profess here on the team, that you don't have to eat like a rabbit. You don't have to just eat salads. Probably one of the worst things you can do. There's a lot you can eat that's super delicious. Now imagine having that 3 to 5 times in a day versus 2 to 3. The only compromise you're making, I guess, the only concession you're making, you make the meals a little bit smaller. And on top of all that, it's super important to stay hydrated all day. Helps you digest and break down food, helps you burn calories. You need it for different metabolic processes in your body. And most of all, when it comes to food, it keeps you fuller. So drink as much as you can. Don't overdo it. Don't drink until you're sick, obviously. But definitely keep an eye on water. Most of the time, we're not drinking enough. I know I haven't had enough today. I'm very thirsty right now, probably from coffee. Jen, next slide, please. Thank you. And again, I mentioned before to work with a professional. Livongo is a really great program for that. I have a ton of, sorry about that. I have a ton of information, not only on meal planning, different links I can guide everyone in this group directly to. but also how to build out your life and make it easier on your life and adapting to that. Guided by a coach, guided by an expert, so somebody even further up the chain in terms of expertise than I think me or Sam, because they double a lot of the times as behavioral therapists. That's not my specialty. So really helping you guide life and get through different hurdles, throughout life, and sticking to as healthy of a lifestyle as possible, whatever that might look like to you. It's not one size fits all. So it's very individualized, very person based approach. And it's easy to get in. You have to, it's only available to employees in New Jersey, but it's really simple to join. And the criteria for it is having a BMI of 25 or higher. So very easy to get into. And Jen, let's go to the next slide, which I think is my thank you slide. The next slide. Oh, it's right into Bounce Forward. I was going to plug Bounce Forward. I just don't know how much time we have right now. I'll take questions. If anybody has questions, has anything that they need emailed to them, I'm going to put my email in the chat right now just to make it easier for everyone. That's a cool answer. Somebody said, eat well and be true to yourself. I like that. That applies to a lot of things in life. So if there aren't any questions, you can reach out and email me, but I'm going to hang on for another second.
Yep. Thank you, Nick. I did just want to call out the Bounce Forward series that is currently going on right now. It is a multi-week transformation opportunity for you and your family to really come together to get to a better place post-COVID. And events did begin in early April, and we focus on different areas of reflection and coping, connections, relationships, putting you guys in the right direction about reaching out for help, celebrating life, and giving back to those in need. So though we have a lot of different events happening. You probably have seen within your virtuals calendar or through email communications the different events going on. We have one tomorrow that is going Bounce Forward, Getting Moving for the adult fitness. Later on this month, we have a Parent's Guide to Kids and Money, Toddlers to Teens workshop. We also are going to have a family-focused fitness class. We'll have a My Safe Summer, learning everything from hiking tips to your power tools to poisonous plants. Also, if you have any teens that are getting into the workforce this summer, some great tips there. We also have a Get Mindfully Strong seminar, which is a workshop for young children. And then we will be coming together on May 4th to celebrate life. So really, we're looking for pictures of whether it's loved ones or family members who have passed throughout the year. And we would like for you to have a place to grieve and to celebrate their life. It does not have to be from COVID related. It's just to honor those who lost this past year. Then we'll kick it over back to Sam, which is going to be a taco party. We will have the Turtleback Zoo come on in with different animals. Whatever 30 animals participate and are cooperating that day will be there. We have another Get Mindfully Strong seminar for teens and adults. As you know, it's very challenging for teens and adults at this time. Also, too, we might have some financial issues going on. So we're going to learn more from Fidelity about identify and prioritize your saving goals. So that's a seminar on there as well. Ask the Docs, we will have the PSCG medical team come and talk to us. Your health means everything. That's going to be brought to you right there by Livongo. We will also have racial trauma, the physiological impact. And then last but not least, we are culminating this event with a unity concert. So what we want to do is we're looking to you for some great submissions of you, whether singing or dancing to some uplifting songs to put together into one big unity concert, and it will benefit the Employee Crisis Fund. So check it out. We will be setting up the PowerPoint. If you haven't registered for this event right now through Virgin Pulse, please do so you can get the slide deck and any other following information. I also too posted the redemption code within the chat. Feel free to open up your chat. You will see the instructions of how to redeem 100 points, which is by logging into your BeWell account. Click the home button, rewards, and click redeem a voucher. Then you'll be prompted to enter the code and to be valid through the end of the month. If there's any other questions, we'll hang on. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for coming. We will see you guys next week, which is going to be all about powering up your mind. Let me get back to them. So Power Up Your Mind, we will give you guys a toolkit to, take the stress relief, give your mind a break, but also to remember to be safe, as it's very important. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out through chat, and we'll see you guys later. Thank you.